What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint episode of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast. It's time for us to break down the next upcoming WWE Premium Live event. Who are we? Oh, I'm Tony Mango, joined as always by Robert E. Felice.
Now, Tony, I gotta ask you right off the bat. Is this Backlash? Is this WrestleMania Backlash? Is this Battleground? What are we doing here?
Well, according to attempt number 1 of doing this episode, it's the next PLE for NXT. It's Battleground. I'm sitting there going, don't say Battleground, don't say Battleground. Hey, what's up, everybody? Battlegrounds,
now that we're, what was it, 2? Did they get 2 WrestleMania Backlashes in there?
I think they did more than one.
I think they did 2021 and 2022.
I think they might have gotten 2 because I kind of remember the logo changing because it was the pirate thing the one year. And then, 2022. Yeah. WrestleMania Backlash.
They got 3 WrestleMania Backlashes in there?
Oh, that's right. Crazy. Yeah.
That's crazy, man. But no, the reason I say that is because now that we're, couple years removed from WrestleMania Backlash, boy, that was stupid.
It's it's implied is the thing. That's the whole point of Backlash coming after WrestleMania. Is it's the backlash from WrestleMania. You don't have to call it WrestleMania Backlash just to try to say, it's WrestleMania-esque. That's like saying that the pay-per-view following the Royal Rumble is like Royal Rumble Fallout Fastlane or something.
It's an event that's equal or greater to WrestleMania.
Stupendous.
God. I say all that to say that this is a very light show.
Yeah, this certainly is not WrestleMania. It's 5 matches.
It's got a match that should have main evented WrestleMania somewhere along the way, but
right.
It's not WrestleMania.
Now, I will say the matches don't feel like they're nothing matches, but it's just a scenario where, again, they have so much of a roster, it's so big that they couldn't even find enough spots for everybody at WrestleMania, and that was a 2-night, 7 to 8 match show card. You don't have space for 14 matches on every single pay-per-view. And I feel like it's light, but at the same time, I feel like it's all right, well, we do have Saturday night's main event coming right up. So something like Jey Uso versus Logan Paul is probably going to be put there. And if they would have put that on this event and they would, kind of rush everything a little bit, this would feel like a much bigger card, sure. But then it would be like, all right, well, then what are we going to do for the next thing? We just did all the matches. So it's kind of, I'm not particularly excited to see this pay-per-view, but on paper, it sounds like it's a fucking monster show in some ways. On par with, you had 2 more matches onto it, and it's like a SummerSlam.
Yeah, and I think, obviously the main event of this show is one for the ages. Even if it's a stinker, it's one for the ages because it's likely the last time John Cena ever fights Randy Orton.
It needs to be viewed in the lens of Hogan versus Andre, or Hogan versus The Rock, or Rock versus Cena, or Austin versus Kevin Owens. It's not a match you're going to be able to say it's going to be a 5-star thing on par with Will Ospreay versus Swerve Strickland. But
that's not to say that they can't have their own version of a good match. Now, granted, John, and we're going right to the main event, folks.
Yeah, so we might as well.
John is limited, but Randy, hasn't lost too much of a step. The RKO is arguably more over than it's ever been. They can...
Cena's a heel for the first time, so who knows how they work together, because they've never done that. That could be
I'm not thrilled with, but you're right.
Like, for all we know, maybe their chemistry is even better when it's the other way around. Or it could be fucking miserable. You know, maybe they have no chemistry and they just end up falling back into old habits and it's like awkward and it's garbage, you know?
Well, this is going to depend on how hot the crowd is, because if the crowd is super hot, you know, if the crowd's super hot for this, then it's going to be a great match because they'll be feeling everything they do. If the crowd is dead and then they go out there and do, as Callum likes to say, 3 minutes of a Randy Orton headlock, we're in for some problems.
I don't think it's going to be a particularly great match. And of course, we all know who's winning. Like, John Cena's retaining the championship. But I'm still curious to see it. And it's still a match that, like, if they wouldn't have done this match during his retirement tour, I would have been like, that's fucking crazy. Why didn't you do that?
I mean, there's so many people out there who think this could be the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I thought that it was a real good possibility that he was going to be his last opponent.
I think, you're a little older than me, but like, for my specific age group, this is like our Hogan Savage. And even I fought that for many years as a kid, but like,
oh, it totally is.
This is our Hogan Savage, and
even more so than throwing Batista in the mix there.
And you can
Batista's
say what you
like
want about,
third man out, kind of.
He's Warrior.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, actually. Yeah, that's perfect.
And you can say what you want about, like...
Which, by the way, we're not saying he wrestles like Ultimate Warrior, who's far better than Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, but he shakes the ropes and he does the thing.
True.
He's Ultimate Warrior.
Ultimate Warrior had the gunshots going off in his brain when he's cutting promos.
I thought so. But it comes down to this. At some point, it's the final match two people ever have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Hogan and Savage, I think their last match might have been on a Nitro for the WCW title, and I don't know if you know at the time that it's the final match, because they're still going so frequently and so regularly that you think, oh, they'll probably fight again next week,
So their last match was 1999, July 12th. An episode of Nitro.
Yeah,
which was what else happened on there? Booker T beat DDP, David Flair beat Sting, Sid beat Kenny Chaos, Kidman beat Steven Regal, Dean Malenko beat Ric Flair, and Conan beat Vampiro.
Boy, that's a real mixed bag. There's some things there that I'd like to go back and watch, and then there's some things there that I wish I never knew existed.
Yeah, it's Hogan beating Savage for the title.
But that being said, here it's the end. It's the last time. You get to go into it with that feeling of nostalgia or whatever. Or maybe, like...
Another one to call attention to was like Undertaker HBK and Undertaker Triple H.
Right, where like their last match, after everything they did, their last match is in... if you're nice, you say that their last match is in Australia. If you want to be a douche about it, you go, after all that shit, their last match is that clunker of a tag. But here, they have the opportunity to do something special. Cena's gonna win. He has to win.
Yeah, obviously, like, he's not losing that title anytime soon. He could lose at like SummerSlam, but I think Cena retains by doing something like a low blow. I don't think anybody gets involved.
Or, just for funsies, does Randy Orton win in St. Louis and lose in Tampa at Saturday Night's Main Event?
I don't think Cena's going to be at Saturday Night's Main Event.
Oh, no, he is. He's advertised.
Oh, he is? Oh, that's right. He's on the poster. Oh, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, to be honest. There would be a big like pop for me if that happened, because I'd be like, all right, cool. Orton gets another title reign added to his record, and Cena does too when he wins it back. And that's even more of a chance that nobody's going to break it for the sake of it. And then it makes everybody go, okay, well, then now we don't know if Cena's going to hold it all the way till SummerSlam. And we don't know what that means for the title. And, you know.
And it would be very much like these two to flip-flop it.
Yeah.
Just one more time.
I don't think that's going to happen.
It probably won't. Like, it's probably something. Look, I could see this being a situation where Cena gets DQ'd. You know, Cena does some coward shit. Like, that would have been Randy Orton all those years. And now the shoe's on the other foot. I can see a situation where that happens.
Now, he's advertised for Saturday Night's main event, but I think he's going to be advertised to be cutting a promo.
It depends.
Because they do love Saturday Night's main event having promos. And, he's a draw in that regard. And
do you have, somebody who could get an easy match out of him, get another match under Cena's belt, whether it'd have to be a babyface, but which makes it difficult. But, is it another match with Brandy? Is it another match with
like, they're not going to have it with somebody like a CM Punk, because that's something that they're going to advertise well in advance.
Yeah, and it's probably going to be whenever they go to Chicago.
Most likely. And you can't, obviously, it's not going to be like Otis, but it could be something like that's one last Sheamus match.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. Like a Sheamus match or a AJ, what's AJ Styles doing right now?
AJ Styles, another possibility. They probably would advertise that more in advance, but it's a possibility. It could be even a one-off like guy that hasn't had anything with him yet, like a Penta. Just be like, I want to face Penta, You know
who else it could be, and this hasn't crossed my mind for a minute since he turned heel, but Cena's a heel. Is there ever been a better chance to do Cena Goldberg? We know Goldberg's last match is coming up.
That's true.
Has there ever been a better chance? I think, now granted, I think they would advertise that a little heavier in advance.
Yeah, they would definitely.
It's one of those things that you could just do. Does he fight someone from NXT? Does he take on a Joe Hendry, for example, who will be in Tampa?
Yeah, the Joe Hendry's possibility. Hell, it'd be fun to do The Miz, but
I would love to see a Miz match. I do think that there should be one more, but Miz is the heel right now.
Yeah.
But no, my overall point is this is a fun match for a specific generation of fans. I think it'll live up to expectations in that way. I'm not expecting a 5-star classic. I'm just expecting a lot of callbacks and a lot of fun for people who are in their late 20s, early 30s, and getting the chance to kind of say goodbye to a rivalry that defined the formative years.
Yeah, it's like nostalgic for anybody of a certain age or higher, even. Because even like the gap between you and I is enough that's a wrestling generation kind of in there. And then, I've been watching Cena and Orton all these years, so I missed out on the beginning, but that just means it's even more than what I think, and I'm already like in that, like, okay, Cena and Orton needed to have one more match, and just like Cena Punk, like they need to have one more match.
Yeah, there's a couple people in there that need to have the one more match with Cena. I'm already bummed that Owens isn't getting it,
right?
And people like Edge won't get it, but this one is gonna do what it needs to do, and I think Cena gets the win, but I think it's through something that you never thought you'd see, like John Cena has to like low blow and roll up Randy Orton with the tights and something like.
I think so too. Same thing.
I just thought of another good one for Tampa. R-Truth.
Yeah, the R-Truth thing has to happen at some point. Absolutely.
Just do the match.
Either a match or you need to have Cena beat him up or something.
Or I could even R-Truth turns heel. Because John Cena turned heel and that's his hero.
That'd be great. That would be so great. And then you can make fun of R-Truth in a different way. He'd still be stupid, but it's like he's a heel stupid now. Just like before when he was like doing the little Jimmy thing at the beginning. Yeah, Cena's going to retain, and the match itself is not going to be maybe the same type of 5-star classic, but hopefully it'll be a fun story. Now, if you agree or you disagree, we always want to know what you have to say, so drop your thoughts in the comments section below on YouTube. Make sure that while you're over there. Yeah, see, look at that. We did doing things a little differently today. You know, if you are on YouTube, hit the like button. Show us that you support us in that way. Pass the channel around on the share button. Click the ring alert. Get yourself set up for your emails for when we go live, which of course we'll do on Backlash, the post show. Click on the join button too. Get yourself access to the same things as the Patreon. Patreon.com/SmarkOutMoment. Talked about before with a couple other things. We obviously do our Discord stuff all over there, which go ahead and join the Discord. That's going to be a part of that. We've got our Darkcast here. We got our Pick Your Poison and all that. So if you do want to be part of that Discord thing, join the Discord and chat it up there as well. Pick up some merchandise on Redbubble and TeePublic while you're at it. Anyway, that title is very secure. One title that's not, though, is the Women's Intercontinental title. It's going to be on the line between Lyra Valkyria defending against Becky Lynch. And the way that I've written this out on the website, for instance, maybe I'll change it, but I doubt it in the next couple days, is 2 options here. Either Becky Lynch wins the title or they specifically drag this out by having Lyra Valkyria retain only to have a rematch in the future where Becky wins. That will be done just for the purpose of stalling for time and, quote, giving Lyra a win, quote, in a sense. But it'll end up in the same place. I can't imagine WWE is not going to put the title on Lynch eventually if it doesn't just happen here. So I would just cut to the chase.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments, except I don't think they're going to cut to the chase.
You think it's going to be wait and then do the rematch at Saturday Night's Main Event?
Yeah, I think Lyra wins here.
There's a very good chance that happens. And then it becomes a story of like, see, I just beat you. And it was like, she gets her with like a roll up or something.
Right. And it's going to be Becky Lynch attacks her and goats her into putting it on the line again.
Mm-hmm. They do like the, you lose the first time and then you win it the second time.
That's so annoying. No,
that's as much of a trope, by the way, at this point, as the other alternative for this, which is Lyra took out Becky on the go home show, which means that Becky wins, because it's almost always the opposite.
Right, that there is that trope working in Becky's favor as well. I'm gonna go Lyra. I could always change it for the fantasy league. This is probably one of the ones where I'll just lay my cards out on the table. I'm going to see who you and Callum pick.
And then pick the opposite.
No, if you both pick Becky, I'll probably go Becky because I'd rather tie than lose.
I'm going to pick Becky. I'll tell you that. Because to me, right I'm still like, you know what? Spoiler alert, I don't think the other titles are going to change hands. And I think that this whole show having no title changes might be a little bland.
Right now, gun to my head, I'm going Lyra. Just so they can drag it out.
They do love dragging it out. One of the other reasons why I'm going Becky is overall, I feel like that's a stronger story. And, Becky just coming right in and winning it. But also because I think that Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax is happening at Saturday Night's Main Event. And I don't know if they're going to put 2 of those belts on the line.
I think it might be a 4-way at Saturday Night's Main Event.
Oh, it could be. With Jade and Naomi. Yeah.
Naomi. You're right. I can see a situation where they might not want to put two women's matches on that card, but
I think it's Jey Uso versus Logan Paul. I think it's the women's main women's championship.
The women's SmackDown main. Okay.
I don't think that the women's world championship will be on the line there, because I think they're still just kind of like stalling for time. I think that they're really trying to drag that out a little bit. But if it is, they could be Io against Julia, for instance.
That's another 4-woman situation, actually.
Or the 4-woman thing, yep. And there's also the tag titles that haven't been defended since Mania. So I think that they could do something with New Day and War Raiders or something. But the Becky thing, I am going Becky right now. You're going with Lyra?
I'm going Lyra.
Which, by the way, Lyra looking even better these days. Like, she's getting more confident, both like character-wise and in the ring and all. Like, she now is at a point that I understand why they gave the women's title to her in NXT. It's taken a while, but she's gotten there.
From the moment this feud started, I went, "Oh, okay, Becky's." They're trying to get Lyra more comfortable on the mic, and this is that story. I got it.
Yeah,
and I think it's worthwhile, and maybe by the end of it, Lyra is actually one of the top women.
Hopefully,
now, before we stop talking about this match, I do have to talk about Becky Lynch being a cheeky bastard on the Raw Recap podcast and saying that Bayley's paying $99 a month to text her best friend.
I like that. I thought that was funny.
That's funny, and also I like the line about trying to give it back to Lyra, who said that the women's division evolved without her, and she said, "No, it didn't. The world title feud revolved around Dominik Mysterio." So Becky at least she sees the stuff online and she gets it, and she plays along with it, and I just enjoy that.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I can't say the same for Gunther versus Pat McAfee. That is not very great. I don't understand why they're doing this.
Really? This is so obvious to me. You don't see what they're doing?
To me, it's like, okay, well, is McAfee being written off television? If so, why is he up against Gunther?
Because Gunther's gonna bloody him, maybe, or at least choke him out and write him off TV.
Well, see, the weird thing about that for me is if you make it seem like he's like completely fucked up Pat McAfee to the point that he like can't go to the shows and do his job, and then the next day he's on his podcast bouncing around and acting like a goofball, it's pretty stupid in this world. It should just be like, okay, McAfee's taking time off and, doing his thing, hosting whatever show or,
I don't think they can go wrong here unless they have McAfee win, and I just don't see that happening.
Because, Gunther does that to Pat McAfee. What does Gunther get that offsets WrestleMania? That doesn't matter. And so it's kind of making me think, to at least a certain extent, I'm like, maybe the plan is for Pat to win and for Gunther to be like, holy shit, I've lost my step. Like, I tapped at Mania, and now I lost to a non-wrestler. And maybe this is like that humbling thing that they tend to do with people, which really sucks.
I don't want to see that, but...
I really don't. I didn't want to see Gunther tap out at WrestleMania either, though.
You do make a good point, though.
Like, why did he tap at Mania? That's a specific choice. Jey Uso doesn't make people win by submitting them.
I saw people trying to be like, well, there's precedent because that's how Ilya beat him, and maybe that's just like his kryptonite. But coming from Jey Uso, that wasn't the move. I'm going to err on the side of hope and goodwill and say Gunther fucks up McAfee. McAfee gets written off TV.
Overall, I think so. But I'm like, how much time did Gunther get off to spend with his kid? Are they gonna add to something like Gunther beats the shit out of McAfee and McAfee gets written off, but then Gunther also gets suspended?
Yeah, and then he can always just come back on SmackDown.
Yep.
Beat up whoever is.
He gets drafted and moves over after the draft. Something like that.
By the way, I'm not sure at this point which championship is staying where. Because
I don't know. I was so convinced that Cena was going to be staying on Raw.
But then it makes you think that they want him on everything.
Right.
If he's going to be around.
But they can't burn through those 20-something days that fast because it's like we're only in May and he's contracted till December.
That's about one a week. You know? 52 weeks a year, that's about half a year left. So it averages out to about one a week.
A little less here and there.
Yeah. But
so you do it too many times and, you know, but I mean, we don't even know when the draft is going to happen because they haven't said anything. Yeah, I mean, it might not. They might just be like, well, we're just going to trade people over here and there and, you know, on a whim and just go, we don't need to announce it. There was a trade.
Or, and this is always something I've wondered, maybe Hunter's one of those guys who really liked the June setting for the draft. And maybe he's waiting for that.
Could be one of those, we want to go from SummerSlam to SummerSlam almost, instead of WrestleMania to WrestleMania.
Kind of like how, as soon as he got in power, he created the World Heavyweight Championship.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, okay, you like that. Okay.
Yeah, maybe, there's been a couple things like that. The World Heavyweight Championship over the Universal title, that's definitely one of the major standout ones. This approach of recording people entering the arena at the beginning of every TV show, that's a new thing. That's like, that's going to be our thing. They really amped up the amount of times that they're showing celebrities. That's a TKO thing, I'm sure.
I don't say, yeah, that's full TKO.
But like Triple H, Io Sky, booking her. He was just like, nope, she's getting pushed. She's regularly getting pushed.
That's his girl. That's his like, okay, I know for a fact that you can do anything I need you to do.
So it's, you know, some of that stuff's hard to really predict. And we don't really know how he views the draft.
I think he likes it because otherwise I think he would have tried his best to merge everything. But I think he thinks it's hard to figure out. You know what I mean?
I think that they like the flexibility of being able to be like, at any point, we can call an audible and change something up if we want to, just without an explanation, but we'll try to keep these rosters pretty set. And realistically, they can. Like, nobody really cares. But it does make it hard when you're like, certain people can go between any other show at any point. But you might see Jey Uso on Raw. Like, yeah.
And it's like, you might see Jey Uso on Raw. You might see Seth Rollins talking about how that title is the most important title to Raw, but then be on SmackDown the next 2 episodes chasing Roman Reigns, who might also be on Raw. You know, you got that kind of stuff going on.
So, I mean, with those titles bouncing around and stuff, the same thing can apply to the mid-card titles. The Intercontinental title and the United States title do not have to be on the same brand as they're on right now. And of course, we don't even know when the draft is happening too. So, like, if that even happens, they could swap them around. But I think they're staying put where they are. Dominik Mysterio is defending the IC title against Penta, and Jacob Fatu is in a fatal 4-way again against Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, and LA Knight. So it's the last thing he did was win the title in a fatal 4-way, but a couple different people. Dom, or not Jacob Fatu doing that. Jacob Fatu was against LA Knight. Now we get a 4-way for that. The Intercontinental title was a 4-way. Now we're getting on 1-on-1. Getting myself mixed up here. I think both are staying the same because Fatu just won the title. Dominik just won the title. There are far too many stories to tell with both of them as champions than to just switch it already. But that's saying, Penta could win the championship and it wouldn't shock me. Drew McIntyre could win through something like Solo. Sikoa gets involved and he screws over Jacob Fatu, and Fatu's like, I just fucking won that belt, dude. And now you're going to have to help me win it back. And then Solo starts stepping. Well, maybe it's not your time to be champion. Maybe it's my time. Like, they could tell some stories. But Dom's got a feud with Finn. And it should be for the championship. And Fatu...
They set up Dom and AJ. So I'm thinking it's Dom.
Yeah, like, Dom...
That's my total logic. But at the same time, just to throw the caveat out there, while Dom is my pick, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave it to Penta, just because Penta's super over.
Now, Styles did say, I don't care who wins, I'm coming for the title. So it's like, you could say, all right, well, then it's Dom and Balor off on the side, just fighting over the Judgment Day. And Styles goes, okay, well, Penta came out with the belt. I'm going after Penta. Well, they could do that. Like, that would be crazier things have happened.
They did also just set up Finn and AJ for Raw, though.
Mm-hmm. Which more than likely indicates Dom is going to retain, and then whatever happens with Styles and Finn, aka Finn loses, and Styles uses that to be like, now I should be number one contender. Right, I'm more confident that Dom retains than I am that Jacob Fatu retains, even though I'm going with both of them keeping their belts.
Jacob Fatu should retain, but I'm also like, Drew McIntyre is getting to a point where he needs something. And if it's not going to be a major main event feud, he needs a mid-card title. So if not Jacob Fatu, I think it's Drew, but I'm going Jacob retains.
Who do you think takes the pin?
LA Knight.
I think it's going to be Priest that takes the pin.
Yeah, I realized after the words left my mouth, I'm like, you're just showing your bias that, like, you would have LA Knight take the pin. That doesn't mean that they will.
Since Knight lost at Mania, I think they're not going to do it a second time.
Well, I mean, Priest also lost at Mania.
That's true. Priest did lose. Or maybe it's McIntyre that takes the pin. And it's like Priest hits the last move on McIntyre and Fatu then knocks Priest out of the way and pins McIntyre or something like that. Like, they could do something. More than likely, Fatu is pinning one of the baby faces. But again, I think it all depends on Solo.
Yeah, that's true too. But I'm disappointed in him. Not that I'm a huge Solo stan or whatever, but like, he should have been a bigger deal by this point.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that all of that is his fault by any means, but it is disappointing, especially when it's like Jay just won this title. I'm more disappointed at Jimmy than anybody, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because Jimmy just seems like he's like, I'm fine with not even being a mid-carder right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, he goes from being a guy who's a guaranteed main eventer if he's in a tag match to like, maybe I'll open the show, maybe I won't do anything, who knows?
He's basically in a spot that like Finley would have been in back in the day. Where it's like, he's a semi-reliable mid-card guy that's a well-known enough name that somebody could beat him and we could feud them for a little bit, but it's not going to be something we really care about.
I say this with all the love in my heart. For both the person I'm about to reference and Jimmy Uso. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. He comes out of the Uso feud looking like Jannetty Uso.
Oh, yeah. That's the other Jay.
It's super unfortunate, though.
I remember a time frame where I thought the opposite. I was like, yeah, between the two, Jimmy is definitely going to be the one that breaks out if they have to.
Well, yeah, because if you remember, between the two, they were setting up. Jimmy's going to break out because he's not under Roman's spell.
And then like his, mixed tag thing with Naomi, and he just like seemed to be utilized more, but
I mean, even when it came down to the split with Roman, who did it? It was Jimmy, and then they just walked it back. Crazy stuff.
All this to say, Jacob Fatu is probably going to retain.
Yes. He should, that would be a good feud for Jimmy as well. Like, let him get a match with Jacob.
Yeah, they should. Even if it's just on TV, it should happen. Now I don't know where Penta moves on from here.
Lucha Brothers and Rey Mysterio wrestle Chad Gable and the Creed Brothers at Worlds Collide. I don't know if Rey will be healthy, but if he is, that's the match.
Something like that. Yeah.
If not that, then it'll be, what you could do? Penta could win, and then it's title versus mask against Gable. Or El Grande Americano.
The latest speed champion?
Yeah, but that's not the title on the line. You put the IC title.
That's going to break the immersion when the speed champion is El Grande Americano on speed, and he's been unmasked as Chad Gable.
Well, he can still be El Grande Americano when he's on speed.
Yeah, it's not like anybody's watching. I mean, obviously, in that scenario, they could just be like, and Chad Gable's the speed champion. Like, that's the answer if you want to go in that direction. But I have no idea what they plan on doing with this AAA thing, because that they signed those contracts with like Del Rio and stuff. That's something we're going to talk about on the hot tags.
I don't think that they really did.
No?
Personally, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll save that for the hot tags. That'll be the next thing you guys are going to be hearing us talk about are those hot tags. And then, of course, as we said, the Pay-Per-Viewpoint post-show immediately following WWE Backlash on Saturday. I believe the pay-per-view is supposed to start with a pre-show at 5. And
it's 5 pre-show, 7 actual show.
Yeah, so 2-hour pre-show for this. Totally unnecessary. It's 5 matches.
That's just what they do now, isn't it?
It's so fucking 5 matches, and you're going to talk for 2 hours about it. We gave the full predictions of things that they can't say, and we did this in 37 minutes.
You'll get the Pat McAfee sat down with Michael Cole for an interview about Pat McAfee helping Michael Cole.
God, that unnecessary fluff shit. Yeah.
You get like Jackie Redmond sits down with Becky Lynch. Is it weird that Rollins isn't on this card? Is it weird that, there's just some stuff that's just not here? Because I'll say this, I doubt we're going to talk too much TV stuff on the hot tags. Jey Uso doesn't look super strong right now.
No, he doesn't.
He barely beat Seth Rollins. He didn't beat Seth Rollins, actually. He barely survived Seth Rollins. Had to get help from CM Punk and Sami Zayn. And I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with him right now. But I'm sure this will be a solid show. Like a 3 out of 5.
Saturday night's main event. I really think that it's like, if you were to merge Saturday night's main event and Backlash, you would get one half of the WrestleMania card. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to be seeing it no matter what. And of course, we'll have that live coverage on smarkmm.com. I'll also have it on EWN. I'll also have it on the Ring Report because, time's tight.
You're a hustler. Yeah, I mean, I was going to compliment you and say you're a hustler, but yes, times are tight.
I'm a hustler, baby. And of course, keep in mind all the things we mentioned before about all the ways you can support us. If you don't want us to have to hustle around, go to amangotree.com. You'll see a link tree list of all sorts of different accounts of mine that you can be following, whether that's Letterboxd, which of course has no monetary value to it, but what the hell, if you want to support it, go ahead. And the Patreon stuff and Facebook and X and all that crap. You can find me at Tony Mago on most of them. And make sure you're following Rob too.
Yeah, you can find me at Dude Felice on everything. Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, Blue Sky, Letterboxd. I'll probably join Dropkicked as well, which is the wrestling Letterboxd.
I don't think I've heard about that before.
I see a lot of people are having a lot of fun with it, including Drew McIntyre, who's like actually creating. He created 2 lists that I saw, which is matches that I think are perfect, which is legit, just some of his favorite matches, and times that I got screwed out of the world title, which is fantastic. So I'll probably join that at some point. And for everything else, stay tuned to Smark Out Moment. And yeah, we'll be seeing you.
All right, everybody, you know what that means. That's going to do us in for this episode. So thank you for listening. Make sure that you leave your comments below, and we will see you next time. But for now, this has been another Smark Out Moment. We're being counted out.